Dual blades.
2 small greatswords, and you hold one in each hand.
Longsword.
Thinner greatsword that's slightly less impressive to look at.
Bow.
Greatsword with a string attached that fires small, sharp greatswords.
Lance.
Greatsword sharpened to a point with a second greatsword stretched into a wide circle that you can hide behind.
Get out my smithy!
Which Monster Hunter weapon is best? And does that even matter? Can it even be measured? These are all very valid questions, and today we're going to answer at least one of them definitively in at least one way. Now, firstly, of course, greatsword is the best weapon, but if I was to entertain for a moment the notion of maybe possibly conceiving the thought that perhaps the minuscule outside possibility exists that another weapon might be better, what would it be? Well, it's hard to be objective here because really it comes down to preference and fun and what works for you. If one of the 14 gives you the most satisfying thrills to plunge it repeatedly into the soft fleshy underbelly of a monster, then that is the best weapon for you, and that is more than fair enough. Nice. But there is one metric that we can at least look at to give some kind of definitive answer here, and that is of course speedrun times. Because we can take a given monster, look at the fastest world record kill time for each weapon against that monster, and then lo and behold we have a ranking of 1 to 14 on which is the faster better killer, and then we extrapolate that out to every single monster and average across all of them who kills fastest, and then in terms of raw power in the hands of the best players, we could at least say which weapon is the best, or at the very least fastest killing on average. So if we all went out and hunted a Gyarados, and this is how long it took each weapon to kill it, then we would know that this is the order of goodness of weapons. Now, obviously this is very simplified and unrealistic, because no one would waste their time actually hunting a Gyarados when you could be doing something more interesting like watching grass grow. Is this the most important metric? No, of course not, but it is the only objective numeric one we can do. And at the very least, it is an interesting one for a multitude of reasons we'll get onto later in the video. So I thought it might be fun then, now that Iceborne's kind of settled. We've had Fatalis, we've had Archvelcana, things really aren't going to progress in terms of armor sets, we're all kind of just on pause until Rise. So let's actually look then what the weapon rankings when it comes to kill time averaged across every monster is. The 14th then, the slowest weapon to kill things on average is... You shall not pass! Lance! And this one, I feel like is probably the... Yeah, okay, I kind of saw that coming. You know, I feel like when we imagine the weapons that are the air quotes weakest, I think there are 2 that come to mind for most people. Lance and Hunting Horn. So seeing Lance down here is, well, sad but expected. It's just not a weapon designed for pumping out damage. But even instantly we get a good signifier of why pure kill time isn't the best way to evaluate a weapon, because Lance comes with the utility, the speed of the charge, the shield, being able to be super hard to kill. There is so much more than just how fast your hunts are complete, and I think that is really wonderful when it comes to Monster Hunter. All the weapons truly offer so much that goes beyond your raw numberage. But raw numberage is the name of the game today, so in at rank 13 is... well, the Hunting Horn. Oh yes, this blessed unicorn of buffing songs, by itself is just not that strong. Rank 12 then, out of the 14, this is the first one that actually really surprised me.
You are a bug, and I like bugs. Maybe the two of us could be good friends forever.
Is your insect glaive, and maybe that shouldn't surprise me. Maybe I just don't play it enough, because, I mean, I don't play it at all, so maybe all of you that are maining it are kind of going, oh, yep, that's fair enough. But to me, I always saw it as kind of a high DPS weapon. And I should say, when it comes to the data being used for this, it is a pool of hundreds upon hundreds of the world's literal best speedrunners on their attempts using every weapon against every monster, all collated and average. So there really doesn't exist a better representation of fastest killing weapons than the ranking we're going over today. And at number 11 is the...
Oh, what the hell, man?
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Oh god, oh no.
Gunlance. And this one again is sort of fair enough to me as someone who isn't intimately familiar with the weapon. It's one that I kind of instinctively felt would be low down, but one of the main things here is when I reveal what weapon came where is I want you guys that actually main it to chip in the comments. I want you to be like, that seems kinda low, or yeah, that's about right, it does take a while for things to die. I really want your perspective on this, any surprises that you have, and Gunlance to me does have the ability to do some lead shenanigans with repeated slapping. And I thought that might give it a bump up, and honestly, it seems kind of the polarizing weapon. If you look at something like Furious Rajang, it is the 4th fastest weapon to kill it on average. But on a lot of monsters, it goes down exceptionally far, which then drags it all the way to its current position. For example, on Elatrion, the fastest Gunlance time is 5 minutes 40, which is just ridiculous, but then you compare that to the fastest time in general, which is 2 minutes, then you start to see why it falls into the place that it does. There is a lot of weapons between its near 6 minutes and the champion at 2. Then the most surprising one of all, at least to me, is rank 10 of 14, and that is...
My prey has already been defeated. It just doesn't know it yet.
Longsword. The initial reaction is, of course, what? That is ridiculous. Longsword? Are you serious? The most try-hard anime as shit. What the hell weapon? Are you crazy? You mean I'm being tripped up by these bastards and they're not even killing the monster faster than me? And, well, calm down, okay? I was also like, oh, that's weird, but then it kind of made sense, because when you're talking speedrunning, you are talking, obviously, the fastest of the fast. You want to be killing the monster as hard as you can, instantly. And what does Longsword have to do? It has to build up to level 3 Gorge, and the time it takes to do that, in speedrun terms, is an eternity, and to my mind that's what's slowing it down so much, relatively, when it comes to these rankings, so I think that is quite interesting. Then at number 9, we have Blunt Greatsword.
Loompa, loompa, doompa-dee dammer. Stay away from the head, I'm using a hammer.
Also known, I guess, by some people as Hammer, and although I do really like Hammer, it is a very steady weapon, and honestly that's one of the draws of it, but it just kinda does what it do. If you can actually get consistent uptime, then you do absolutely ludicrous damage. The only issue is when you're fighting the monsters that are so very quick, you start to struggle as a hammer because you can't do lots of damage quickly. So for example, when it comes to Furious Rajang, hammer kills it the 10th slowest of all the weapons, because how much time do you actually get to bonk the Rajang? Not much, so when we're averaging across all the monsters, which we are, hammer sort of slips down. Then, at rank 7, somewhat fittingly, of course, in the middle, the average of average is...
Look at me, guys! guys! I'm hunting in a fun way that none of you can do! I'm special! Yes, perfect!
The Sword and Shield. Congratulations, Sword and Shield players! You must be so proud, you must be so happy! You are faster and stronger than at least 7 other weapons! Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. That was kind of wasting my time here, really explaining this one. So, yeah. Well, that is lovely to see, isn't it? The Sword and Shield taking that middle place, and I think it makes sense. Like Hammer, it's very reliable and steady going, but it's got that speed to it, and that little bit of extra utility, and that is really lovely to see. I think that weapon definitely deserves this little spotlight. Then we have
Hit monster with sword! Put sword in shield! Put shield in sword! Monster go boom!
Charge Blade. Oh yes, this weapon is probably expected to be up here, though I would have expected it to be even higher. It is just an effective killing machine, and while it requires a lot of playing, honestly it is my least favorite weapon, because I feel like you spend most of the hunt thinking about your weapon and not the monster, and that is the antithesis to what I like to play. It's no coincidence my favorite weapon, the Greatsword, is the weapon that is most think about the monster, not your weapon. But in any case, I do respect the Charge Blade and its players, and it's nice to see that super amped element discharge itself all over position 6. That sounded much better in my head. Number 5 then is Two Swords Go Fast.
Well, I think my swords are great too.
Dual Blades, and this is no surprise. They are elemental powerhouses, they are fast, they are responsive, they have one hell of a damage output in the hands of someone that knows what they're doing, and nobody knows what they're doing more than the very best speedrunners, so it is good to see it here. Then we have our first ranged weapon on the list at number 4 in the Lightbowgun.
Oh, silly me, did I do that? Oh, what, were you expecting a hammer? It was me! Lightbowgun, it was me all along!
This should come as no surprise. The ranged weapons throughout Iceborne have been a little bit, let's say, cheap, perhaps you could argue, and the Lightbowgun is no different, though definitely the less cheap of the three. Most of the things it can do can be done better by the heavy bowgun, but it still has some of its shenanigans going for it, like sticky ammo, or if you want to get very specific with something like the Stormslinger and heroic's ludicrous damage on your Thunder Weak monsters, but at the very least it does do the job. Then at number 3,
This sword is great.
Okay, well, so is mine, dude.
No, you don't understand. Yours just feels great to you. Mine is great. It was labeled by the gods long ago as great. And it is not an opinion that my sword is great. Your sword is great to you. My sword just is great.
Greatsword, the best melee weapon, as proven by speedrunners across the globe. I sit here proud, a single tear rolling down my cheek as I salute the greatest lump of hit thing hard to ever be wrought upon this world. Oh yes, you mighty sword, you great sword. Well done, you. You are the best weapon, because the two weapons ahead of you are just broken, okay? So they don't count. They're also ranged. Who hunts at range? Fancies that who? Great sword is all. And again, this makes sense, because when Greatsword gets going, when you are hitting every true charge back to back, you are doing ludicrous damage. It is the highest single hit weapon, and when you are using that to maximum effect, when you are playing so well that the downside of slow charge ups and the ability to miss and the ability to get hit while you are charging up is non-existent, you end up in a world of pain for the monsters. Then, number 2 is the...
Oh, well, I dabble a little bit in the bow, you know. Once in a while, I'll give a bow build a go. Like the other day, I tried a dragon pierce a bit.
No!
Hello?
Elements only! Bad bow user!
Bow, which again is, let's be honest, you knew this was going to happen because you all knew what rank 1 was going to be, but Bow is of course very, very quick, an elemental powerhouse, a ability to constantly dodge around the monster, never stop firing, and just generally absolutely annihilate things. It's just kind of ranged better dual blades in all intents and purposes. And then number 1.
Look at him. What a tryhard.
What's the point?
He wants to join our hunt.
Ew, no, kick him out.
Well, we don't have to go.
I want my hunt to last longer than 2 minutes and have some threat to it. Thank you very much.
Here's the heavy bowgun, which is, of course, where it's going to always be, because it's ridiculous. It does so much damage across so many builds, can just stand there tanking with the shield while you pump damage into the monster. It has a setup for any given monster that completely takes it down and counters it, and if you ever want to kill something with absolute impunity, you just take 4 heavy bowguns to do it, and job is a good one. So that's your full table from rank 1 to rank 14. But the thing is here, and one of the main inspirations for making this video, is that the actual difference between Heavy Bowgun at number 1 and Lance at 14 isn't that crazy. The Lance average time is only a little bit over double the Heavy Bowgun average time, which means the spread across the weapons is quite narrow, at least compared to a lot of game balance out there, which means the Monster Hunter weapons are very well designed. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, and they all pretty much do as good of a job as each other. Obviously you can min-max, obviously one has to be stronger, it's unavoidable. As soon as you attach numbers to things, there will be one number that is best, but it is narrow, it is marginal, and that's really heartening, really lovely to see. There is just a very nice spread here going across the weapons, and of course, as I alluded to at the start, the best weapon is your weapon. The most fun weapon is your weapon. The most powerful weapon is your weapon. The best weapon is your weapon, and that is the true beauty of Monster Hunter and the community. Nobody sees a weapon show up and go, oh god, I don't want to hunt with that. It just doesn't happen. At least I don't see it, and I hunt with a lot of people. It really is, everyone brings what they bring, and it's like, cool, let's do this thing. There's no, come on, only bowgun hunters, otherwise you're actually just wasting our time. There just doesn't exist that pretentious, that enforced min-maxing. That's so lovely to see. People accept quirky builds, people accept sub-power weapons, though I don't even agree that's something that you can say about any of them, and I think that is really lovely, and it's such a point of pride for this wonderful hunting community I consider myself lucky to be a part of. So let me know what you guys think of this ranking. I realize it's a very brief look, but I definitely think it's something quite fascinating to see. And until next time, like you enjoyed this, subscribe for more. A goodbye.
Rage Gaming with the video float.
But that's all that's really relevant at the mo, but I'm still gonna leave this up so you patrons know that I love you even though the outro's no longer that kind of relevant. But the new one's being worked on and it's gonna be a truly badass song, and don't worry, I won't be doing any rapping on it. I'm gonna go now. This was shit.